Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
That's right, boys. It's Monday, and that means it's time for latest Vikings news. The latest Vikings news.
Oh, boy.
You guys wanted Sounders. We're going to give you Sounders.
I love Vikings news.
Yeah.
I do.
I haven't heard it yet. That's awesome.
That's right.
I do love Vikings news.
Latest Vikings news, including what NFL executives are saying about the Vikings after the draft period is over. Mike Sando doing a great job. Later on the show, we'll catch up with former Vikings Vice President of Sports Medicine, Eric Sugarman, now of Neos Elite Performance. Shout out to Quick Trip to get our week started the right way here, Judley.
Yes, absolutely. Guess what? Because Quick Trip has everything that you possibly need on your way to work. Look, it's like a playbook, right? Playbook. It's got all of these plays. Well, Quick Trip has delicious food, breakfast, lunch, a snack. They've got gasoline. They've got the Karuba coffee, which on a Monday, a lot of us need. Quick Trip is the ultimate place to stop and get what you need. It's a quick stop, and let's say that you don't have time for a quick stop, and you're like, Sportsnet, I can't do that. I'm going to tell you right now, put the app on your phone, and Quick Trip will bring out to you what you need. It is that simple. It is a playbook that is going to work every time because there's a play for everyone just by stopping at Quick Trip.
That's right. All right, gentlemen, let's waste no more time here.
Latest Vikings news.
And get to the latest Vikings news, starting with The Athletic here. What NFL executives are saying about the Vikings. Mike Sando does a few of these he'll do the quarterback tiers, he'll do free agency, he has like 50 or 60 NFL executives, coaches, and scouts that will just feed him takes behind an anonymous curtain.
And it's probably important, too. I feel like every time we do a Sando related thing, we mention this, but he is as far as a hot take guy, far away from a hot take guy as you can possibly get.
Yeah. He's a friend of the show as well.
A friend of the show, and a journalist with a capital J. So he actually, you don't have to question this. I know that there's some stuff that it's like, reckless speculation, right? Sando, if he found out that we ever tied him into the reckless speculation lifestyle, would be offended. Again, like Seifert, journalist, capital J.
Yeah. Also, I think sometimes when people read the Sando stuff or anything that's very heavy with unnamed AFC executive or anonymous NFL general manager, right? People get really turned up and turned off by if there's not a name on it, then it must just be made up, right? Well, this is how it works. You used to be a lead Vikings beat writer. If someone's going to criticize or say something juicy, they're not going to attach their name to it because they don't want to get fired. They don't want to get chastised. They don't want the smoke from their organization or from the public.
Yeah.
But if you give them the cover of, hey, I'm Judd Zulgad, lead Vikings beat writer of the Star Tribune.
Just tell me.
Why don't you listen? On background, I could use a little clarity on this situation here. You have freedom. I'm not going to put your name out there. That's the way you get information.
Yeah.
If you put everyone's name on everything, no one's going to tell you anything. So
Said
Mike
a
Sando
scout
has
from the
mastered,
Carolina Panthers said Ted Hurley, lead scout from the Panthers. I think the Vikings suck.
Oh, man. Well, Bill Polian put his name on the Lamar Jackson should be a running back or a wide receiver take. But so I'll read you this and you guys can opine. This is from Mike Sando and then anonymous people. The Vikings quarterback situation has dominated this offseason, complete with some Aaron Rodgers intrigue. But after Minnesota acquired Sam Howell from Seattle to back up JJ McCarthy, all is finally settled, right? Well, one executive who wasn't high on JJ McCarthy said, you know what's going to happen? JJ is going to get banged up, and Howell is going to walk in there and become the next Sam Darnold, this unnamed NFL executive said. Another executive said, stop. There's no comparison. JJ will be really good, and Kevin O'Connell will make sure he is good. There's no need to worry. As for the draft itself, the Vikings continued to bolster their offensive line. Donovan Jackson, after grabbing a couple dudes in free agency. One executive said, quote, I would probably pick Jackson first out of the three when also talking about Gray Zabel and Tyler Booker as potential options in that first round. He has played left tackle. He may be a better guard. The versatility and athleticism gives them options up front. He can probably play anywhere. So, again, just one executive's opinion. Loves the Donovan Jackson pick. The Vikings also got the 14th receiver in the draft, taking Ty Felton late in the third round. Felton, seen as some by the top special teams gunner in this class, might be best known for clocking a 4.37 40-yard dash. One executive said, quote, he doesn't look that fast running routes. He runs down inside and takes hits, and then when he gets the ball in his hands, he looks 4.37. So get the ball in his hands. Don't worry about the route tree as much. Mm-hmm. Vikings have had a couple guys like that in the past, but I don't know. Your thought? There's some split thoughts on what might happen at quarterback this year. That's probably the headline from this Mike Sando excerpt.
Well, I think the first person it sounds mildly inflammatory, but he didn't say I think that Sam Howell is going to come in and beat out McCarthy. He said McCarthy's going to get dinged up, which is entirely possible. Like hopefully it doesn't happen. I think the real question there though is making the comp with Howell and Darnold. And I will say this again, we've grown accustomed partially because, Kirk's play went from here to higher. And that O'Connell now is known as the quarterback whisperer. But all of that being said, I think we need to acknowledge that KO himself puts these guys in bins. Like, he couldn't take Mullins and make him this great QB. He basically did the best that he possibly could, and Nick stepped in. It didn't go great 2 years ago. I think Nick threw 6 passes last year. When Darnold was dinged up, it went fine. But all of that being said, we don't know yet what bin Sam Howell falls into. So like this notion now that Darnold is the template, right? Like that's the blueprint. From now on, everybody that comes in, come one, come all, you're all going to be like Sam was, which, at one point in time was an MVP discussion QB. So I actually think, McCarthy might get hurt, might not. That to me is not the headline. The headline of the statement is that Howell is going to replace McCarthy and become the next Darnold. And to that, I would say, hold your water a little bit there. That's something that I'm not even sure is on KO's radar as what he can do in QB rehabilitation school with Howell.
That's the biggest. There's a few differences between last year's situation and this year's. The biggest one being they signed Sam Darnold before they drafted anyone. Yep. Now, they had some plans to draft somebody, and they weren't sure how the draft would play out. But they went in to free agency thinking, let's go pay $10 million for someone that might have to start because we don't know how the draft is going to play out. We'll see. We're trying to move up, but so I think they had an eye on Sam Darnold, who also the league referendum on him in the draft was top 3 pick. His physical traits, his productivity in college, everything about him. The league decided, not that the league is always right, as we've seen, but the league decided that he was worthy of being a top 3 or a top 5 pick. On Sam Howell, the league decided he was a 5th-round pick. So there's a huge difference in kind of where those guys were at physically. At one point, Sam Howell was much more highly regarded, like 2 or 3 years. I think it was like 2 years before he was actually drafted. He was projected to go maybe top 10, and then his stock kind of fell. But as someone who a year ago said, I'm really interested to see what would happen with Sam Darnold because I think they could win some games, and I think his career could be rejuvenated. I do think if the worst case scenario happened and this random NFL executive was right, that JJ gets banged up again or whatever, I think they could win some games with Sam Howell. I don't think it's 14, but I think it's 9 or 10, and they're flirting with like a wild card spot. I'm curious, like let's say that happened, just worst case scenario again. Oh man, JJ's out, a setback or whatever it is physically. Do you think they could win 9 or 10 games with Sam Howell through quarterback rehab school?
I think the ceiling's 10. I think the absolute ceiling is 10. I mean, anything beyond that, I'd be pretty surprised by. Guys like Mullins, and maybe even Sam Howell, I guess, like those are the Dodge Neons from 1995, and you are driving that car until it collapses. And you might be able to fix some things here and there with it. And Darnold, if I can continue my car analogies, was off the lot. It was a good factory car, but it had a horrible driver that was just beating the crap out of it and needed a little bit of fixing here, but it was still a really nice car, right? I think if Sam Howell had to be the starter for the entire season, I actually think there's some potential there. I don't think, though, it would result, even though this franchise is just littered with situations like this, I don't think it results in a 13-14 win season and like a potential long playoff run. I think it's probably a 9-10 win season at the absolute best case scenario.
And Phil, I think that your first point, though, is the best point, which is they went and actively sought out Darnold and said, we trust you to start. Howell has been brought aboard really late in a process that we don't know, like, who else did they vet? Who didn't they get? Who did they try to trade for? I don't know. So I need to see more of what KO does with him. Because, again, we've seen him take guys that he considers backup quarterbacks and treat them as such. And the reality is, I don't know that there is a comparison between Darnold and what KO saw there and Howell. Like, could they win some games with Sam? Oh, yeah, I'm sure that they can. If McCarthy, God forbid, busted up his knee again or something, and Howell is now your guy, I don't know yet. I don't know. I need to see a lot more in training camp. But keep in mind, too, when these camps start, the expectation is JJ McCarthy, QB1, Howell, the backup. So I'm just saying I think there's a big difference between how Kevin O'Connell judged Sam Darnold and how Sam Howell is going to be judged. It doesn't mean Sam can't win some games. I think it does mean that we shouldn't have the same expectation, though.
Totally agree. And another differentiator is Sam Darnold got most of the first team reps, even when they were competing in training camp, kind of competing, I guess. Darnold was working with the ones 90% of the time, and JJ would mix in a little bit here and there, but not a lot, right? Like it was the competition was kind of look how JJ looks with the twos.
Yes.
While Sam Darnold got the reps with the ones.
Yes. Judd, what do you think when like OTAs and training camp, mostly training camp starts with those reps? What do you think a split look like? Is it McCarthy 90-10? Yeah. Like last year, it was more Darnold, and then McCarthy kind of came along at the end before the injury. What are you projecting? Obviously, we don't know, but what do you think those reps look like between JJ and Howell?
The exact same as they were between Darnold and McCarthy. Now, supposedly, so McCarthy got hurt against the Raiders in that preseason game, and the story is that the Vikings then were going to Cleveland for joint practices the next week, and supposedly then they were going to ratchet up to be like a 50-50 split. But Phil, I think the practices that you joined me at, I would say it was 90-10, 95-5. Like it was Darnold
96-4.
Yeah. 99-1. I mean, JJ McCarthy was not getting much work, if any, with the first team. I would expect that the split will be the exact same. McCarthy now with the ones almost all the time. Howell mixing in, but a clear cut backup. He's with the twos consistently. But I think there's a bigger question here, boys. I think what I am most curious about on day one of training camp is what's the split with the twos? Is it Howell or is it Howell and Rippon more? Like, I think Howell is the backup. I am not convinced, though, that Rippon's not going to get a chance here. And it felt like, Phil, in training camp a year ago, there was a clear, Darnold, McCarthy, Hall. I'm curious on Rippon this time around too.
Well, okay, since we're deep down the rabbit hole of the Vikings quarterback depth chart here, thanks to these anonymous NFL executives, Brett Rippon has kind of lingered around here on this roster. He's never been at this point. He's never really been in the hunt for QB2. He's just been a depth guy in the room who fills out. Wasn't he practice squad for a while and then elevated? Was that his designation? They
signed him to the roster after there was an injury. I think he had been let go in the final cut by the Bears. And then at the end of the season, to get the comp pick for Jones, they elevated Jones from the practice squad. They waived Rippon, and then I think re-signed him to the practice squad.
So do they view him as, hey, we need four quarterbacks on this offseason roster, and hey, he's been around the league for a few years and he knows how to operate practices and stuff, and he's just a guy that we need as a body? Like, that's kind of what Brosmer's going to be, the fourth guy that can help throw some passes in individual drills. Like, he's not a real threat. Is Rippon a real threat to be QB2? Is the question you're posing. I find that interesting.
My radar, like me personally, as sports dad, says no, that it's Howell. But the more I sort of you look at this, and again, Howell sort of this late addition. I think I'm being a little too judgmental too quickly. I don't think Brett Rippon is a quarterback too, but again, this is like O'Connell's world, right? And we don't really know how it operates. And when it comes to quarterbacks, I can say, well, this is what makes sense to me, but I'm doing basic math, QB, right? But he's operating in the world of trigonometry, quarterback world. So I'm just saying, I think I need to be more open-minded because this guy, well, I'll give you one too, you guys. Max Brosmer got a very nice payday to come here. I wouldn't eliminate Brosmer not as being QB2, but I wouldn't eliminate him as QB3, which
he's great intermediate, and that's the crossing route mesh concepts that KOC leans into. Brosmer's great at those.
And again, I'm tempted to say, oh, Brosmer's a practice squad guy. No way he makes right. That's my temptation. But I'm not operating in this higher class world of quarterback evaluation that I feel like exists. So I'm just trying to slow my own roll a little bit.
I love that we're breaking down QB3, 4, maybe practice squad.
It's important, man.
It's Cinco. By the way, happy Cinco de Mayo to everyone celebrating. But I love
birthday
this
too,
type of stuff. Oh, and Mrs. Olga's
wife's
birthday.
What a big day! Yesterday was Alex Boone's birthday too. Big 24 hours here.
Don't tell her, but I got the card right here. I just was doing the
Dawn.
Dawn.
It says Don.
Got the card right here. Don't tell her.
Wait, did you write on the card, or do you just sign your name on it and let the card speak for itself?
No, I write on the card.
You have a hand. Wow, look at you.
Oh, look, that's nice. Oh, that's nice.
I write on the card. Yeah. I can't. I'm not just gonna hand her a signed card.
It says, Don, what are your thoughts on the Vikings backup quarterback situation? Best wishes.
Sports dad.
Just
best wishes.
Brett.
Have a great year.
You should start a card.
Regards.
We should start
Don,
a business.
hope all is well with you.
Yeah.
Thanks for reaching out. You want any career advice?
Latest Vikings news.
Actually, let me throw one more factor on to the let's call it the JJ McCarthy projection here, because it is fun to talk about the backup quarterbacks, but they've got ideally their decade-long franchise guy here, and what I find really intriguing at the end of the day, it's less about his numbers and more about the wins and losses. His job is to come in year 1, year 2, year 3. I don't think there's going to be a huge expectations for him to be throwing for 300 yards and this and that. Can you navigate this thing to a win more often than not? That's going to be how he's judged. Kind of like early Tom Brady a little bit. This defense is locked in. You got some infrastructure, not to make that direct comparison, but he didn't turn into the Tom Brady individual performer until 3 or 4 years into it, maybe even until they got Randy Moss. But the Vikings defense last year was 5th in the NFL in scoring defense. They allowed 19.5 points per game. And I think the defense got better with Jonathan Allen specifically and Javon Hargrave. And you look toward the bottom of this list, and the Carolina Panthers were giving up 31 points a game. Well, that makes it way harder for Bryce Young as a young quarterback. My God, we literally have to score 5 touchdowns just to have a chance to win this game. I'm looking for other young quarterbacks here. The Falcons with Michael Penix down there, they were giving up 25 points a game, an extra touchdown per game compared to the Vikings defense. The Patriots with Drake May giving up 5.5 more points per game than the Vikings defense. So if you can come in with another top 5 scoring defense and you're not telling your first year starting quarterback, hey, dude, we need 27 to 31 points every single week. Can you get us to 20? Can you get it? If you can throw one of them, and then we'll run one in, and then we'll have Big Leg Bill kick a couple in. That's 20 points. If we can score 20 points, we're going to win a lot more games than we lose because of this defense. That's a huge factor.
It's enormous. And again, because of what they've done, at least the infrastructure of the offense around McCarthy looks fantastic. I don't even know that you're asking him. It looks to me like it's set up on purpose that you're not asking him to do too much too, right? So it's not like you got to get us a touchdown. If you don't get us a touchdown or 2 touchdowns, we are screwed. And you're throwing to Justin Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson. You've got now, Aaron Jones part of the passing game as well in a 2-back set. So yeah, I don't think that McCarthy, in my opinion, is set up 100% to succeed. Offensive line, much improved. And if you look at the totality of the entire team now, it looks improved. And this is where quarterback wins are at least an interesting discussion point, though, because first of all, I feel like we treat quarterback wins like pitcher wins, but pitchers can't control how long they pitch. Like they might be yanked out. Circumstances change. I mean, quarterbacks start ideally every game, and they do not come out. So I do think that there is a conversation to be had about quarterback wins, not placing blame, but basically, can you guide your team to success offensively, which means you don't throw picks, you protect the football, you do lead touchdown drives, and it was very clear from day one that a guy like Brady had that gene, right? Like he did a great job, and it comes back to a very simple term, managing the game. Can you manage the game appropriately to get your team, which hopefully has a good defense, to wins? So that's where I think quarterback wins are at least a discussion point, where I get why pitcher victories are a non-starter.
Yeah, in a small sample size, one season, or certainly like anything smaller than one season, you can't. Quarterback wins are a tough stat. But over the course of 50, 100, 150 starts, it does start to weed out the best quarterbacks from the mediocre ones. You go look at a list of the top quarterback win percentage guys in NFL history, and it's like a who's who of the guys that we regard as the top quarterbacks. Yeah. In one season, obviously, if you're kind of along for the ride with the top 5 defense, yeah, you don't get full credit for those wins.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Dex.
I just think we've gone way too far into like dismissing quarterback, like, oh, QB wins aren't a stat. Well, yeah, like if there's one season where we're talking about one guy that won 13 or 14 games and that's his only sample size we have.
Case Keenum. Yeah.
Case Keenum, perfect example. But there is something to be said about the best quarterbacks always winning games. And even with Judd's pitching analogy, like look at don't even look at the wins-loss record for the individual. What is the team's record when that pitcher starts? That's also a big factor, too.
The Case Keenum thing is funny because it proves the exact point we're talking about with quarterback wins. In that one season with the best defense in the league, and it was also his best season that he's had in the 11 years he's been an NFL player, 11-3, quarterback wins, right? That's too small of a sample. He deserves credit. Awesome season. He played his ass off. The defense was great, so he didn't have to score 30 points every game. But over the 11-year career of Case Keenum, his teams are 30-36 when he starts. So that kind of tells you over 11 years and 66 starts in the NFL. Now he's had a couple like really bad infrastructure seasons too.
Yeah, some meh teams definitely.
Yeah, but he's not like a needle mover, and that kind of shows you that he's going to be below 500 makes a lot of sense. All right, okay.
Hey, is that some Vikings news I see?
Yeah, it is, Judd. That's right.
Awesome.
That's great.
ESPN has power ranked 32 NFL teams. They have this is post-draft, post-free agency.
Okay.
And they write, our power panel of more than 80 writers, editors, and TV personalities evaluates how NFL teams stack up 1 through 32.
Power panel.
Power panel.
They need drops for that. Power panel.
Power panel.
Do it for you. Power panel.
Power.
Oh, reverb. I love that.
Power. So they've got the Chiefs number 1. I don't know about that actually, but they have the Chiefs number 1.
I don't either.
Eagles number 2. Buffalo Bills number 3. Detroit Lions number 4. They got a bunch of dudes coming back on defense from injury, but they also lost 2 coordinators to coaching jobs.
I'm that high.
Yeah. Baltimore Ravens 5. Washington Commanders 6. I don't know about that one either. It was a nice little run for the Commanders, but they feasted on a weak schedule. Usually you see a little sophomore dip with those quarterbacks. And
adjustments
they jump back.
made. Guys watching film right now to stop Jaden Daniels. You're right.
Yep. The Rams at 7. the Packers at 8, the Vikings at 9.
Okay.
That's what the power panel says on ESPN.
Much like my opinion that if you do a mock draft and don't make trades, get out of my face. I've got a new one too. If you're going to do a power panel in May, the Chiefs and Eagles being 1-2 is so boring. Like this league's
Chiefs being number 1 is controversial.
Yeah, I agree.
But pick somebody that wasn't in a Super Bowl. There's always changes, right? Like pick somebody different. Yeah, the Chiefs is, and I just flat out disagree with that one. But like put Buffalo 1. Put the Bills 1. Put Baltimore 1. Have some cojones here. The Vikings at 9 is probably fair. I am a little bit surprised by there seems to be a lot more Packer love, and I'm not quite sure unless you think Jordan Love's going to just come back and rip it up. But I think the Vikings at 9 is probably approximately fair.
Yeah, it's all TBD McCarthy, right?
I think on the Packers, number 1, just like classic legacy and conversation, like everyone always includes the Packers into that. And then Jordan Love, pretty much, he was banged up for a good portion of last year. They still won, 11 games. I know they were one and done, and they basically lost. All their losses were to really good teams, and they beat up on bad teams. I think it's more of that type of factor that he's going to bounce back. And they finally drafted a receiver for the first time in 25 years in the first round.
Javon Walker was the last time, 2002. Was
it? Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, and they grabbed Mecole Hardman, who I don't know if that's gonna matter, but they clearly don't love their wide receiver group. They have a bunch of really good like number 2.5 wide receivers.
Yeah,
and so maybe Matthew Golden winds up being a needle mover, but they drafted Savion Williams at 87, a receiver. So you could argue they have one of the deeper groups of receivers, like 1 through 4 in the league.
Right.
But it's like a starting pitching staff with a bunch of number 3 through 5 starters, and they're still on the hunt for the ace. So, all right, that's your. I might have one more nugget here schedule wise for you, but I think we should get to. Yep. More Vikings news. Judd's hottest Vikings take here. It's your turn for a hot Vikings take. Okay. But let's shout out 2 Men in a Truck, which you'll notice if you're watching on YouTube. Dex with the new home office setup.
Up into my office.
These little interview chairs? Is this going to be like when on Get Up when Greeny has a really important interview and they walk over to the new set here?
You know what? We should probably work that in somehow. I'll get the wireless. I'll get one of my other mics and I'll just be over there.
Have a different camera over there too.
Yeah,
we can just
that'd be awesome.
flip it.
Tell me about your life.
Let's do it. Yeah, my guys Artie and David. They came through from 2 Men in a Truck. Made that move so easy. They got in the house. They wrapped up the big stuff like the beds and the couches and whatnot, and they were able to get in, get out, unpack everything into the new house in under 2 hours. They made our life so easy with 2 Men in a Truck. So shout out to Artie and David. They did a great job. If you're looking to make that move and you don't want to deal with doing all that stuff, go contact 2 Men in a Truck. Tell them Purple Daily sent you. Go to 2meninatruck.com to find a location near you.
Those guys deserve to crack a Black Stack. Black Stack beer, world-renowned craft beer. We had a couple months ago during free agency, like a month and a half ago, an awesome Purple Daily Unplugged event at their tap room, which is the second largest tap room in the state of Minnesota, a 190-inch big screen TV. In that tap room, in addition to world-renowned craft beer, they have hard seltzer cocktails, boozy slushies. I cracked a couple French Slopes Pilsners the other night, just chilling out. I think it was on Thursday or Friday night. Some good stuff. So you can find out more about Black Stack and their expanded distribution all over Minnesota, but also into Wisconsin, Nebraska, and South Dakota at blackstackbrewing.com. And then Judd's hottest Vikings take upcoming here is presented by Standard Heating and Air Conditioning.
That's right. It's finally about 70 degrees. Actually, I just texted my wife 5 minutes ago. Can you please turn the air off? Because Dex Tweets is starting to freeze his butt off down here. So I need that air conditioning off. But thankfully, the air conditioning is in good shape if it's blowing this cold air, thanks to my friends at Standard Heating and Air who are making sure that AC is working well and tuned up properly. You can join their Smart Club, which gives you priority booking and discount on repairs. Go to standardheating.com to take care of those AC and HVAC needs.
All right, Judd. You're up. You're up, slugger.
All right, here it comes. My hottest Vikings take. Is not going to involve a unit, the defense, the offense. It's going to involve just one player. and we've talked about this guy a little bit. Hey, he might do more than you think. No, I think he's going to do a lot more than you think. Isaiah Rodgers, new Vikings cornerback, will be a Pro Bowl player this season.
Whoa.
A Pro Bowl player this season. Wow. There have been rumblings, and they grow stronger, that this was, and I know he was one of the first free agents signed, and I know we all said who, and then we found out that he had been suspended for a season for gambling, and we're like, what? How? Why? What's this all about?
I love a football player who rides the edge of life. I love it.
But Brian Flores evidently pounded the table for this guy and loves this guy. And make no mistake, he is going to go. The plan is for him to go into the season as a starter. He is not. This is not a, well, he's a backup or he's a special teams guy. Yes, he can return as well, and that's a viable discussion that he could return kicks. But in his first year in 2020 with the Colts, he played in 13 games, no starts. 2021, 17 games, 1 start, 3 picks. 2022, 15 games and 9 starts. 23, he was suspended. 24, last year with the Eagles, 15 games, 3 starts, 4 passes broken up. Every indication, though, is that Flores loves this guy, and the Vikings see this guy, and Flores in particular, as a starting corner. And if Brian Flores has faith in you, and Brian Flores is going to potentially turn you loose, then I'm on board. Pro Bowl season for Isaiah Rodgers.
Wow.
I like it.
You know, we kind of we speculated on this when they made that signing, just looking beneath the surface before anyone from the Vikings was able to really talk publicly about it. Looking beneath the surface, under the hood, some of the advanced metrics are really positive. So he's had PFF grades, just overall defensive PFF grades, on a 0 to 100 scale of 73, 82, 71, and 86 in his 4 years in the NFL, or 4 seasons, I guess, because he was suspended for the 2023 season. Coverage grades, which are really, it's hard to rack up a big coverage grade in the NFL. You don't see a bunch of like 90s and 85s. It's a lot of 60, 65s. And if you're over 70, 75 on a regular basis, PFF coverage grade, you're doing something right. 71, 81 and a half, 72, 85. So he's consistently been, as a part-time player, really highly graded on PFF. Opposing quarterbacks, when targeting Isaiah Rodgers in his career, have an 85 and a half passer rating. The league average passer rating was 93 last year. So he's holding, when targeted, he's holding opposing quarterbacks well under league average. Like, for example, that the Las Vegas Raiders as a team with like Aiden O'Connell and whoever the hell else was playing quarterback for them last year, they had an 83 passer rating. So in his career, he's basically turning opposing quarterbacks into whoever the Raiders had playing quarterback with Aiden O'Connell last year. The question is, can he go from being a 400 to 500 snap guy, like a rotational guy, to being a guy that plays 900, 1,000 snaps, and he's out there as a full-time player? And if that's the case, his contract becomes wildly discounted because you signed him to a 2-year, $15 million deal, $8 million guaranteed, and the high-end starting quarterbacks like Byron Murphy Jr. just got like $20 million a year. So this might be, if they're right about his projection, this might be one of the best free agent contracts that was signed back in mid-March.
Yeah, I like what they continue to do with the cornerback room. I know they gave Byron Murphy a big payday, and hopefully that works out, but they have yet to commit, long-term, big-time money to a bunch of cornerbacks that can end up, fizzling out. Corners just, it's difficult in today's NFL to be a shutdown corner for 8-9 years. Like, it's just really hard to do. And I like taking the chance that Rodgers, or even like bringing in, old wily vet Shaq Griffin last year and stuff, like there's good stuff you can do with kind of manipulating and getting the best cornerbacks. And when you have someone like Flores, I think that's able to get the most and identifies the ones that he likes. You kind of got to, at least for now, give him the benefit of the doubt that he likes the guys he's targeting, and these are the guys that should be in the room.
And don't forget, too, guys, when Murphy signed his original contract here from the Cardinals, 2 years, $17.5 million. So it was the same type of gamble. He I believe, was coming off injuries at the time. But the fact is, he went from being acceptable in his first year to being damn good And I think that the Vikings and Flores in particular, again, see the same thing or potential with Rodgers.
Here's another interesting nugget about Rodgers. So of all the qualified cornerbacks in the NFL last year, like 100 some, he had the 6th best man coverage grade according to Pro Football Focus. And that was kind of the book on Byron Murphy too, that he could hold his own in single coverage. There were some flaws here and there. But the Vikings clearly view that position as one where they can find hidden gems and work them in and insulate them into this system. So the biggest thing will be up front. Are they going to, because they had the highest blitz rate in the league last year with the additions to the defensive line, are they going to even feel the need? This could be, they might wind up upgrading a couple of these positions in the secondary, at least with Rodgers, if they're right about him. And they might not have to blitz as much too. So there could be some real benefits of dropping even more guys back into coverage more often and still getting after the quarterback. But yeah, I like it. It's a spicy take. It's a spicy take.
He's almost spicy. Didn't say all pro.
Yeah, but if he plays a full slate of games like he did in Philadelphia, and you double the snap count and the productivity, he's also been highly regarded as a run defender too, just kind of like right place, right time.
Oh, he gets his nose in there. Is what you're telling me.
He'll stick his nose in there. Yeah.
Oh, I love when a cornerback sticks his nose in.
Yeah.
To the run game.
That's right. Antoine Winfield style.
Yeah, Declan.
Get in there.
Terrible. You take that.
No,
the wrong
it's
way.
fine. Just
it's football terminology, okay?
AJ's clipping that, by it'll be on the thread.
It doesn't apply to real life.
The Score North clip threads on socials.
Anybody got any Vikings news?
I do. I have one more for you here.
Wow.
Okay? I haven't heard them. I haven't heard Judd's. I just did mine, but I never heard.
I did a bunch.
For these. It's incredible.
This is going to get so obnoxious, isn't it? How many complaints are we going to get from our audience?
Yeah.
More Vikings news. So this one comes from noted radio host in Pittsburgh, Andrew Filipponi, the Pony Express on Twitter.
Filipponi.
He was college roommates with Nick Wright and Danny Parkins.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my God, what a room that would
I
have.
know.
Who didn't get their takes in? Like with three guys,
man.
somebody couldn't have got their takes in.
Just slinging.
Who got
takes.
shouted down?
I don't know.
The Pony Express, by the way. Hey, Pony, it's time to up the game.
The
like
Pony
here's
Express.
the Pittsburgh guy. Here's the Pittsburgh guy. Parkins on Fox, right on Fox. They must not have liked you that much, Pony.
Wow, Judd just trash talking Andrew Filipponi here. But he said, listen, old Macadac,
I knew we were going
MSPN, earlier this offseason said he wouldn't be surprised if it was Vikings and Steelers in Dublin. And here it is. Andrew Filipponi says, source, the Steelers will host the Vikings in Ireland on September 28th, not the Packers, contrary to popular belief. There's been some additional steam that maybe the Vikings would stay in Europe for a week after game against the Browns too.
Yeah.
That is unsubstantiated. Those are just rumors at this point.
Yep.
But how do you feel now that it feels like this has been confirmed, Steelers-Vikings, September 28th in Dublin? Then how would you feel if they stayed an extra week and just played 2 weeks in Europe?
Well, playing the Browns again in Europe or in London, I believe, would be a little bit odd because they just played the Browns there, and well, not just, but what it was 2000 what
17.
year? 17.
17.
Yep. So I'd be a little bit surprised, but I think what it's a potential nod to is Vikings fans, how well they traveled, combined with how well behaved they probably are. Green Bay fans can probably get a little dicey, right? A little dicey. You drank too much Guinness, and now you're doing headstands naked on the table. We don't like that. I think Vikings fans are a little bit more well behaved.
Keep your cargo shorts on there, Bob, from on Alaska.
Exactly right. But I mean, no, it sounds like, all due respect to the Macadac, it sounds like your spies, your sources, might have nailed it. Now we'll find out for these games May 17th. Is that correct?
May 14th.
May 14th.
Next
May
Wednesday.
14th. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like next week.
I feel like they were. I feel like the games in Europe were being announced in March previously, or ahead of the schedule.
They do
release, but we didn't get that
leak
this
them.
year.
I'm trying to find Judd's mock schedule here in my.
I did put the
notes.
game in Ireland based on your information. I did do that.
You said, let's see here. Is it at Steelers week 8? I think you had, and then a bye week.
Let's see.
Was that the London? You put
I've got
that
it
as
somewhere
London
here,
game
too.
in there.
I've got it somewhere here, but I definitely put the game in Dublin against Pittsburgh because of what you had said like the week before I did that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So if it's wrong, I'm blaming you.
I would have
It's not my
appreciated
fault.
from the Pony Express, instead of him reporting it as source, I would have appreciated the confirming Ol Macadak's report from 6 weeks ago on Purple Daily.
Unbelievable. Vikings
The
news to
respect.
confirm. Yeah, I put it week 8, October 26th, Steelers in Dublin.
All right. So there it is. That's your Vikings news here.
I love Vikings news. I do love Vikings news. I'm not going to lie about that. That was a truthful liner.
We love Federated Insurance around here. Before we catch up with Eric Sugarman, longtime head athletic trainer for the Vikings. He was an assistant trainer for the early Andy Reid days in Philadelphia, eventually became the vice president of sports medicine with the Vikings. A long career spanning multiple different coaches. So we'll ask him some questions about meniscus injuries to quarterbacks, ACL injuries to left tackles in the recovery process. But Federated Insurance is here to help you guys as business owners make sure you have a game plan in place to stay focused on safety and preventing claims. They're there to do the trenches work, keeping you safe. You are the quarterback. You are the business owner. And they've been doing it for over 100 years, 121 years to be exact, based in Owatonna, Minnesota, and now have partnerships and tentacles in all 50 states. So wherever you are as a business owner, Minnesota or any of the other 49 states, go to federatedinsurance.com and find a full list of industries that they support and tools and resources that they can provide. At Federated, it's our business to protect yours. And welcome Northern Soda Company to Purple Daily here for the summertime.
That's right. Minnesota-made 1950s style craft soda, baby. Most of these recipes are from the 50s, so Northern Soda is the way it used to be. It's handcrafted with cane sugar and premium ingredients. You can find them in Kowalski's, Lunds and Byerly's, most Targets, Hy-Vee's. They even have a tap room, boys. They have a tap room in New Brighton with 10 handcrafted sodas on tap, mocktails, dirty sodas, over 40 flavors in a can. Plus, they have the Pulsum Sunday Purple Soda, and that's 10% off for all Score North listeners. So go check out their taproom in New Brighton and go pick up some Northern Soda.
I think it was there's a root beer one. I had one of those about 2 months ago at Farmers in Minneapolis. Oh my gosh.
I love root beer.
So good.
And cream soda. People sleep on cream soda. Cream soda's delicious.
They shouldn't sleep on cream soda. So, all right, boys, that's your latest Vikings news. Judd's hot take here. Earlier, we caught up with Eric Sugarman here. Here's our conversation with Shug. Latest Vikings news. Yeah, had to fire that new sounder one more time here, just for good measure. Our guest on the show today is the former vice president of sports medicine for the Minnesota Vikings, 25 years experience, maybe more than that, actually, in the National Football League, and now the co-founder and president of Neos Elite Performance, which we'll talk more about. Eric Sugarman making his Purple Daily debut.
What's up, Shug?
Shug, what's going on, man?
Hey, guys. Great. Exciting to be part of Purple Daily. Can't say I watched it a lot when I was doing my job because I didn't want to hear the naysayers, but I'm sure you talked bad about me at times when I couldn't get players well, but here I am.
What's the worst thing you have to say about Judd Zulgad, the former lead Vikings beat writer? Let's take the gloves off.
He might have been critical once or twice of a few lack of injury returns, or maybe Adam Thielen re-pulling his hamstring, and I shouldn't have put it back out. It was my fault.
Yes. Whenever someone gets hurt, you got to fire the training staff.
In my defense, I've ripped a lot of players and coaches. I don't usually do athletic trainers or training staffs. The only thing that drives me crazy, Shug, is my sport, hockey, where they won't tell you what's wrong. Yeah. But I mean, you guys are, put a list out that's I think accurate or supposed to be. So yeah, I haven't been I don't think I've ripped. And in fact, way back when I did the piece on you for a Sunday story, when EJ Henderson suffered that horrific leg injury. And I remember that you basically gave me the play-by-play of that, and that one was scary. So I think I've been pretty kind in the past, if I'm not mistaken.
I agree. Hence me sitting here on the show with you.
Yep. Yeah. We appreciate that. Exactly right. We like to see that.
We would love to. We know that we don't want to put you in a spot because you're not, we don't want you to talk specifically about current player injuries because that's not a fair thing. But we'd love to ask you some general, broad, dumb football injury questions, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, it's fine. I was always a little critical when I would read people criticizing or maybe predicting what I was going to do with players or what the Vikings were going to do with players when I was the athletic trainer. So I'm not going to be, very specific about their players because I'm not in the room. I don't know what's going on, but they're certainly in good hands and we could talk in generality. Sure.
Yeah. But and before we get to a non-specific meniscus injury, for example, when you guys I've always wanted to know, because in the NFL, guys get banged up every week, but the NFL makes sure you have to put an injury report out. What is the difference between an injury or something that has to be noted versus, I don't know, you just went through a 3-hour car accident in week 2 and everyone's feeling something? How do teams figure out that line?
Yeah, I mean, listen, just be honest, right? Like if there's a chance a guy is not going to play, you have to list him. If he just has a little bruise on his thigh, that's normal that you get on a Sunday and he comes in and gets an ice bag, you're probably not going to list that. But we always were, 32 ways of doing business, right? 32 teams. We're always transparent. We never wanted to take the risk that what if this guy wasn't going to make it to Sunday, then we didn't have him listed. Well, then the team gets fined. So when I did my job, we were transparent. We were just honest. Now, when you get into the limited, the questionable, the doubtful, obviously there's a little room for maybe some gamesmanship if teams do that, but we just try to be honest.
What was the situation like? I think that's a fair way to phrase it, Shug. With Favre at the podium on Wednesdays and him actually giving injury updates on guys that were going to play, but they were battling something. I never saw it before. I haven't seen it since, but I remember there were a few guys where he would say, well, I was just, as I came here, I saw so-and-so and his shoulder was hanging. And what was that like to have a guy who actually gave injury updates on guys that weren't going to be listed because they were still going to play? Yeah,
probably not great. I love Brett Favre. He's one of the pictures above me here. I don't know which one. I can't tell, but we got along. We got along great. Great guy in the locker room and in the training room, and I guess he just was part of my staff. So he wanted to go out there, and since I couldn't do press conferences, I guess Brett wanted to do it. So out he went. But no, I don't even remember any specifics. But again, we just would try to be transparent and tell the truth. And there's no reason to hide if a guy's got a nagging injury that we just noted it. It's irrelevant, and why not just mention it? So again, right. I don't know, Brett, but you always had those players. Listen, at the team meeting at training camp, one of the big things that every coach always says, and it was in my presentation, was we don't talk about injuries. Right. So, we try to keep that, competitive advantage. It is a competitive disadvantage for players to talk about their injuries or teammates' injuries. Therefore, the media will get upset when you don't get the information that you want, but it is a competitive disadvantage. So I see that side of it.
Yeah. Brett Favre just walking. Shank's shoulder is just hanging. It's just, I don't know what's going on there. I think he might have been in a sling. I'm not sure. Who do we play this week? Okay, non-specifically because you're not in the room, but if you happen to be a quarterback with a meniscus recovery, what goes into meniscus recovery? How big of a concern is it for an athlete in their early to mid 20s? And just from your perspective, what is that like trying to get back on the field going into the off season?
Yeah, I mean, listen, meniscus injuries can be complicated, right? You have meniscus, and the meniscus is basically the shock absorber in your knee, right? It kind of separates the femur bone from your tibia bone, and it's the shock absorber. We have one on the inside of the knee, which is the medial meniscus, and one on the outside of the knee, which is the lateral meniscus. And I believe from documented reports, a quarterback that you may be referencing probably had a medial or inside of the knee meniscus injury think that was referenced by that particular quarterback in a press conference. And, that's actually better. The lateral meniscus takes a lot more of the critical joint loading, takes more of the force. So if you're going to tear one, make sure that it's the inside one or the medial one. That puts you in a better spot. But secondly, they're tricky, right? Because meniscus have very bad blood supply. And therefore, when you repair them, they can fail. And it's an unpredictable thing. So again, without talking about JJ in particular, because that's obviously being funny here, that's who you're talking about. I'm not the athletic trainer for the Vikings anymore. I'm not in the room. I don't treat him. I am really good friends with their athletic training staff, from Tyler Williams to Maddie, who are friends of mine. And I know that he's in really good hands. He had one of the best surgeons in the country in Chris Larson. He's in good hands. The young man's going to be fine. He had a subsequent surgery, which is abnormal, right? You don't usually have a subsequent surgery, but he had some inflammation that was documented by KOC, and they took care of it. And for all indications, he's doing great. And if I was in that room right now and I was talking to people upstairs, I would have very little to say, let's stop worrying about his knee. He's going to be fine. He's healed, and move on. So, again, he's in great hands with one of the best staffs in the NFL.
Where does the full repair, Shug? Because we talk about that, right? Like they could do the trim or the full repair. When you do the full one, it keeps you out, I think, for an extended period of time, like with McCarthy. But what does that mean in your world as far as the recovery process, and I would guess avoiding problems in the future with the same injury?
Yeah, whenever you can repair the meniscus, I talked about this with, forget who, one of the Timberwolves had this injury, and I was on K-Fan or something speaking about it. But whenever you have the opportunity to do a repair, if when the surgeon goes in with the scope and sees that it's a repairable issue, you always want to repair it, especially on a young man or woman that's an athlete, because you want to give them their best chance for health, joint health. And that's why you repair the meniscus, so that you can keep the meniscus intact. You still have all of the shock absorbing features of the meniscus. When you start trimming away meniscus, you start, developing, you can develop later on some arthritic changes, and it can continue to fragment away. So you always want to repair the meniscus. The surgeon always would like to repair it if possible.
On the just the general knee front, I think Vikings fans have a lot of PTSD. I mean, I think the year before you landed in Minnesota, you were in Philadelphia when Dante Culpepper tore his knee back in 2005. I mean, you were on the scene for you helped save Teddy Bridgewater's life, potentially. There's a lot of PTSD among.
Stretch, but yes.
Okay. Yeah, you were there. I wasn't. But how much concern is there with a meniscus and potential issues down the road when you get to be 8-9 years in the NFL, arthritis, things like that, or is that not projectable?
Projectable. Everybody's different. You don't know what in the future with the load or different injuries that happen. So no, that's an unpredictable question. But again, a very repairable, a very fixable injury when any athlete suffers a meniscus injury, and really not a reason for concern down the line for any athlete that has a meniscus trim or repair. Really, you can just put it out of your mind and move on and know that this young man or woman that has this injury is going to be fine.
Yeah.
Hypothetical number 2. Let's say I'm a left tackle. I'm a big left tackle. I'm a Pro Bowl left tackle. I'm really, really good. and I tear in like week 7 or 8 or 9, I forget which one. I tear my ACL, and I think it was his MCL as well in Darisaw. What's the recovery like at that position for a huge human, but you don't necessarily have to move like a running back, a receiver? Would you expect that issue would linger into the next spring and summer, that it would be fine by September? Like, what is that? What's the recovery for that position with that type of injury, Shug?
Yeah, so the Wheaties box above my head is Adrian Peterson, and he did everyone that tore their ACL after him a disservice by setting the bar so high, from tearing an ACL on Christmas Eve in Washington to winning the league MVP the next season. Not sure that'll ever happen again, which was great for me because it put me on the map, even though I didn't have a whole lot to do with it other than make a recipe and have him follow it. He's a genetic freak, as we know, so he just had great success. As far as ACLs, listen, 20 years ago, an ACL was a death sentence for a player, right? It was like, oh no, they tore their ACL, their career's over. ACLs are common, unfortunately, in any sport now, right? Non-contact or contact injuries. A surgeon like Chris Larson, who did his surgery, again, publicly noted, he does thousands a year. He could do it in his sleep. It's just nothing. So, the end it is irrelevant. You address that part of the injury, you get that fixed up. And then the ACL is the one that takes time. Typical recovery, 8 to 10 months for an ACL, and really skilled guy, big guy, doesn't matter, Pro Bowl left tackle, whoever it might be. Now, for Christian, who I have a little soft spot in my heart for him because when he came in as a rookie, he spent a lot of time with me. He was injured. He's just a great kid. And to watch him, do what he has done in his early career from when I had him in the athletic training room really gives me a lot of pride because he was down in the dumps. He's a first-round pick. All the eyes are on him. He's not on the practice field. Not a good feeling for a young man. And to dominate like he has been really fun. But, for a big guy like that, what I would tell the coaches is, listen, at the 8-month mark, we're going to feel pretty good about him being fully functional. And then at the 9-10 month mark, he's probably going to be ready to go, which in his case, that puts him right at week 1. So it's going to be, they're going to have a decision to make whether he will be a PUP guy and do they put him on PUP and protect him through the month of September and let him play in October, or is he good enough is he healthy enough? We know he's good enough. Is he healthy enough to be ready to go to training camp when they do that in late July, which projectably, yeah, he probably will be. Now, I will say this, that players that have ACLs and get put on the shelf for 7 or 8 months, they come back better. And a guy like him is going to come back better. Why? He has now had the ability to spend the last 7 and 8 months in the weight room. He while the team is doing other activities, he's doing his rehab, and part of his rehab is probably 10x in the weight room. He's going to be stronger. He's going to have better hands. He's going to have better footwork. He's going to be a better player.
Yeah, that's good news.
Hey, Sugar, I'd like to ask you about hamstring injuries. They're just talking with like baseball players and other people about them. They seem obviously very delicate and complicated injuries to return from. We talk ACLs and we talk back and concussions, and there's certainly other body parts that I think get a lot of attention, but hamstring injuries can be really tricky, it seems, for athletes to come back from. And I think even one described it to me as it just feels like a deep bruise that won't go away. So what is it about the hamstring that makes it so complicated to kind of project a return from?
Yes, I hate them. Right? I hate them. And the NFL hates them. All sports hate them, right? Soccer players, but NBA, whatever it is. So the NFL, I do serve as a consultant for the NFL player health and safety crew at times. And, the NFL puts a lot of time and money and research into what we call LEX strains or lower extremity strains, because they're a huge time loss for athletes, not just NFL players, but any sport. And they're really tricky to recover from. It depends on the site of the injury. Is it low? Is it where we call it the musculotendinous junction, right? Big word. I'm trying to impress you guys, but it's where the muscle and the tendon come together. It's the weakest spot of the hamstring. So if it happens there, if it's low, is it high up by the butt? Is it mid hamstring in the belly? All these things matter. You have, 2 medial hamstrings, the semimembranosus, the semitendinosus. Is it the lateral hamstring called the biceps? All of these things matter. And NFL athletic trainers have the ability to go to a database and look at what's the average time loss for a similar injury to project those. But again, every athlete's different, right? Are they going to follow the rehab? What are they doing outside of the building? It's really, really tricky. Are their quads too strong and they're giving themselves a deficiency because their quad is overpowering their hamstring and they don't have the ability to have that eccentric work. Really tricky. Great question. If the four of us can solve hamstring injuries, we'll never have to work another day in our life. We just can't. We can't solve it. We continue to try to study it, mitigate it, fix it. Really tricky.
Yeah. So Shug, you've now taken your 2.5, 3 decades of experience in the National Football League, and we've been talking about Neos Elite Performance throughout the last month on Purple Daily and some of the other Score North podcasts. This is your project now. Tell the audience about Neos Elite Performance, and I don't know if there's some former athletes or some audience members looking to feel better. What should they do?
Yeah, so Neos has been really fun for me, just to find some things to, keep busy and get to the, I'm in the fourth quarter of my mediocre career. So I'm trying to, see what I could do to continue to do what I love to do. That's help people, right? So my entire career was spent helping people, not just athletes. I helped coaches, right? I dealt with a lot of retina injuries. I helped a lot
Did those non-specific injury people follow the protocol or no? Did they hop on a plane? I don't know.
Yeah, they followed the protocol. I just had
okay, good.
But yeah, so I've had the ability to help a lot of people through my life and help kids, right? People don't know I was a youth coach for 8 to 10 years and coached kids baseball, which gave me the most pride. Like, loved helping those kids and still now see them. They're all graduates now, obviously, like my kids. And I just want to continue to help people. And that's what Neos Elite is all about, right? It's the future. So you hear about things like stem cell therapy or PRP therapy or exosome therapy, cellular therapy, all these words, and they're all similar. They're the future of healthcare, really. This is not just my opinion. This is the opinion of many. The Mayo Clinic is doing clinical studies on exosomes currently, but what are they? So, basically regenerative medicine gives our bodies the ability to heal naturally and prevent injury, recover from injury. They're excellent for autoimmune, brain health. So, what Neos Elite is doing is we're using exosomes. Right? Exosomes are part of stem cells. So if you took a stem cell and you smashed it on the ground, you exploded it, exosomes are going to come out of that stem cell. We all have them in our body. We all have exosomes in our body. When we have inflammation, our body's exosomes go to that spot of inflammation and try to repair what's going on in our body. So, what we're doing is we're using the exosomes systemically through an IV. You can do them as a joint injection to help people either recover faster, prevent injury. If you're a recreational athlete and you want to just get that, all of these things are what we're doing to help people. But what are exosomes? That's what people are. We're having a hard time getting people to understand what this is, right? Because it's confusing. I talked to Judd for 7 days straight about it. He still doesn't understand what it is. So
I have no clue.
Judd definitely understood the overloading of the quads and knocking out his hamstrings part. That's been an issue for Judd for a long time.
I've battled that for a long time. Shug knows that.
So basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the body to repair naturally, right? We want to avoid medications. We want to avoid surgeries. We want to get the body to heal naturally. Exosomes are natural. We all have them in our body, except the four of us or three of us now. Our exosomes are not good because we're older, right? So the best exosomes are the ones from babies because they have the most growth factors. They have the most exosomes that are available to attack this inflammation. So, we source ours from natural births that are C-sections that are ethically sourced. They're obviously filtered. They're cleaned. There's no contaminants in them, and they are injected into the body through an IV. And they're messenger cells in our body. They go to the area of the body that have inflammation and need repair, and they help our body recover faster. So they're not FDA approved. They're still trial, and that's listen, epidural injections for low backs, they're not FDA approved either, right? They're now standard care of practice. So everything's above board. We're never going to beg, cheat, steal, or lie. Everything is going to be done just to help people. And I really urge people to, anyone that's trying to stop the aging process, to have better brain health, to have better mental clarity, to feel better, play golf better, pickleball, whatever it might be. And then obviously professional athletes are in a whole level of their own. Check us out. Just go to the website, which is, neoselite.com. Educate yourself, read about it. We have pricing from, all over the map. We have some lesser priced products. We also do nutritional IVs, but we're just here to help people feel better. And I think we have a really great program. We're going to build it out. We have some local legends that are already part of our process with Chad Greenway, John Randall, and many more big names to come really soon. So sorry for that riff, but just passionate about it.
Yeah, no, neoselite.com for you guys. Go check out what Eric Sugarman and company are doing over there to help guys like us to get back to our game. Hey, before we say goodbye, you've got all this awesome memorabilia, the Wheaties box with AP up there and the footballs. Give us, like, as you look back at you stayed through multiple Vikings coaches. I mean, heck, you go back, you were with Andy Reid in the Philadelphia days too. When you think back to the last 25 years in your career on NFL sidelines and behind the scenes, what are the one or two things that are like the peak moments for you to experience?
Yeah, that's a tough question, and tough to answer just like that. But some of my favorite things I've ever got to do are the Pro Bowl. Been to Hawaii 5 times for the Pro Bowl, and the reason why it was so special was early in my career was that I had my little kids. They were 3 and 1, and I was able to actually meet my kids for the first time after working 80 hours a week every week. And I say that with sarcasm, but just have some great memories of working those Pro Bowl games and having my kids be able to enjoy that. But the other best memories of being on the sideline again and you could get a common theme are my kids and my wife. Always every game looking up in the stands when they were little and just giving them a wave after the national anthem. That was my time, giving them a little wave, knowing that they're there to be able to enjoy my 3 hours of hell as the athletic trainer. It was the most stressful 3 hours of the week for me. It was a great job. I was fortunate and blessed to have, and I have great memories. But knowing that they were there, and then through the years, Jake, who's now with LSU football, my oldest son, he worked the Gatorade table. Then Dennis Ryan hired him he was the K-ball guy. He's the one that almost got kicked in the face by Stephon Diggs when he punted the ball in the stands. And then, then Ben, who's now at Iowa and works for the Iowa football team, to just have him standing there working the Gatorade table and letting them have the opportunity to see what Dad really does up close and personal, and hug them after a big win like the Minneapolis Miracle, or hug them after a bad loss in the training room. Priceless, and an experience that most people never get to have.
Yeah.
Awesome, Shug.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just like thinking about the 3 hours on the sidelines too, I suppose, like a lot of the non-game day stuff, you're mapping, you're planning, but those 3 hours are purely reactive, and you don't know what's going to happen, I would assume.
Yeah,
Got to be crazy.
Like Damar Hamlin. Like it's just, I always feared Damar Hamlin or worse. Mm-hmm. And I honestly, like, as a faithful person, just prayed that please let me do my job to the best of my ability so that we could just help these athletes that are injured. So it was stressful, but I wouldn't change a thing, man. It was fun.
Yeah.
Awesome
Eric,
stuff, man.
Eric Sugarman on Purple Daily, neoselite.com for you guys. Go check out what Shug's been up to and see if it can help you. So we'll talk again sometime, Shug. Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys. Good luck today, and I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, and we appreciate you showing us back in 2007 with the models, Adrian Peterson's injury. That was great for our jobs back in the day. We never
take credit
that.
for it, too. Take credit for the bounce back in 2000. Come on. You played a role. You got him back.
You share that MVP.
I think I played a little bit of a role, yes, but I'm trying to be humble. That was it.
Yeah, don't be humble. This is no time for being humble.
Be cocky. Let's go.
He's the last non-quarterback to win an MVP. Take as much credit as possible. My God.
He did the work, man. I did have something to do with it, but he did the work.
There you go.
He's a unique human, man, and I'm proud of it.
Yep. Eric Sugarman. All right, man. Take care.
See ya.
And we'll talk to you sometime soon. This is Purple Daily, where we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.